Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the High Elves. We're doing an FFA today with some members of the community here. We've got Reptile King, Wick D, and Krios here for an FFA. And as you can see, I've gone with a mostly Vanguard High Elf list. So I know I was bagging on Shadow Warriors the other day, but I decided to take them here. We've got 4 of them facing up against the Skaven here. A couple of Reaver Archers. We've got Lyrian Reavers, Storm Riders, Larry L up in the air with Banishment, Earthblood, and Tempest with all her items. We've also got a Star Dragon and a Mage of Shadows without any spells, just with the 2 items for extra magic. For the Skaven here, we've got Lord Skrulk, some Skaven Slaves. We've also got Gutter Runners, looks like some Death Runners as well, and a couple of Assassins, more Slaves, more Gutter Runners. Yep, fairly straightforward. If we look over here at Krios Vampires, he's got the Red Duke up in the air. Looks like some Blood Knights, Zombies, Blood Knights, Zombies, Graveguard, Claw of Nagash, more Zombies and Graveguard. And then for the Norskins, led by Reptile King, he's got a Frostworm, Marauder Ice Wolf Chariots, and regular Chariots. He's got Wulfric on a Chariot, so Sirtha Wulfric. A couple of Ice Wolves. He's got Champions up front with a couple Skin Wolves to back him up. Looks like some sneaky Dire Pack in the back as well. So let's get the battle rolling. You can see my Shadow Warriors immediately going to be opening up on the Gutter Runners that I can see, obviously. I don't want to be wasting my ammo on the Slaves if at all possible. And the Storm Riders, not a regiment of renown you see too often, but the fact they have Vanguard and they also cause fear means they'll actually be pretty decent in a mass Vanguard situation against the Skaven, potentially. You can see the Reaver Archers firing in, getting some good shots there. The Gutter Runners, though, returning effective fire, decided to just throw the Shadow Warriors into melee against the Skaven Slave to see if we could rout them off real quick, and that was exactly what happened. The other unit going to get intercepted by my unit of melee Reavers here. Meanwhile, over on the far side, you can see the Red Duke not really wanting to go for the Frostworm. Be curious to see who wins in the head-to-head between these two, but Ice Wolf Chariots also pushing up here. The zombie horde here is going to have a relatively rough time without the Blood Knights, who themselves are riding over to try and get involved in this particular battle over here, which you can see I'm just pushing up my Reavers, pushing my enemy towards the forest. Lariel and her dragon are going to be flying over, trying to decide where to get involved. Looks like the Red Duke came to try and charge some chariots, but he's going to get hit by the Frostbite. Hunter of Champions, down to only 9 speed. So yeah, the Red Duke is going nowhere fast. Frostbite, everything combining on him to just drag him into the mud there. So that's pretty rough. Granted, he is fighting chariots, which are actually surprisingly effective. I mean, I guess Wulfric does have AP on his chariot, and none of these other chariots do, but the Skin Wolves coming in. Looks like some zombies potentially going to be summoned up, but the Norscan Ice Wolves just not letting the Red Duke escape there, so that's pretty rough for the Vampires. Meanwhile, over here, I've charged in my Reavers just to kind of engage here, and we're going to be pulling some sneaky Elvish tricks. The Blood Knights, I thought, were just going to charge straight into my Shadow Warriors, which would have been devastating, because I really didn't have anything nearby to stop them from doing so. They decided instead, though, to go try and ride down the Skaven here, which, I mean, I don't blame them. But we're going to throw down this Star of Averlorn here to try and keep these Reaver Archers online. It's probably a little bit too little too late, but sensing this massive Skaven blob here, we're going to go ahead and drop the Dread Banishment of Banishments, just ripping apart the Skaven formation here. Hundreds and hundreds of rats just losing their lives in this cone of light, just mowing them down. Yeah, L'Oreal already up to about 400 kills there just from that banishment. You can see that was a lot of like Death Runners and relatively high value units too as well. So pretty rough. The Blood Knights are going to come in and start to clean things up a bit, starting to ride down the Gutter Runners and more. And yeah, with them all blobbed up like this, I'm going to try and get a breath attack. It actually doesn't end up doing a whole lot. Gets a couple of the Blood Knights there. But meanwhile, over on the far side, you can see the Vampires have tried to come forward to spring loose the Red Duke here, but he's just getting dragged down by the monster mash of the Ice Wolves, the Frostworm, the Chariots, and everything. So yeah, Red Duke goes down, and just a little bit too late, the hordes of Mousillon are going to come over and try and win back some points here. But it's going to be pretty rough, all things considered. I mean, he does still have the Claw of Nagash, but if the Skin Wolves, like they're doing right now, are able to get a hold of it, and then if the Frostworm comes, does the... if he gets the Chilling Aura and the Frostbite, the Claw of Nagash is going to have a really hard time getting away. But meanwhile, over here, the Blood Knights, they were coming back to charge my Shadow Warriors, so I interrupted with the Star Dragon. And we're just showering them with arrows now. Alariel dropping that Earth Blood to keep the Star Dragon nice and healthy into the late game. And yeah, those Blood Knights are pretty much done for. The Skaven had just simply fled to try and go salvage some points from this other engagement over here. Not that I blame them, not wanting to face the Arrow Storm and the monsters of the High Elves here. So we're going to go ahead and pick up our forces and start to follow the Skaven over towards this other engagement, which you can see the Skin Wolves are actually starting to suffer a little bit, and the Norscan infantry are definitely getting drained pretty good here. You know, the Skin Wolves don't have a whole lot of HP. This Frostworm's also getting worked through a little bit, so the Vampire's starting to bring things back a little bit here, although it's still going to be tough. You can see Wolfric coming in here on his chariot, going to be getting some solid damage done on these Graveguard. And the Norscan Ice Wolves and more still fighting in here. The champions with great weapons, they'll do alright here against Graveguard, certainly. And the crumbling is very, very real among the zombie hordes. They're not too happy about the situation. Meanwhile, the chase is on. A few gutter runners have been dispatched, and Lord Skrulk also came back to try and summon up some plague monks here, but we just mowed them down with elf arrows, and now the gutter runners and the Shadow Warriors going to be duking it out in melee. So we go ahead and drop the other Star of Averlorn to try and heal up the Star Dragon and the Shadow Warriors and everything. So yeah, the Shadow Warriors will actually do pretty well in melee against gutter runners, both of them kind of a hybrid melee range unit. Personally, I think Gutter Runners are a lot better because of their poison and snare nets. It just gives them a nice utility ability, but the Shadow Warriors, with the support of the Star Dragon, of course, will be able to carry this engagement here, but not without losing some numbers. You can see one unit of Shadow Warriors did get routed off there, unfortunately. Meanwhile, over in the other engagement, you can see a lot of the Norscan forces starting to rally here. A nasty breath attack goes down right in the middle of the Vampires, and at this point, it's pretty much just the Claw of Nagash sitting back, draining. And yeah, it has been able to get only 10 kills, which is not the best. Granted, it was fighting a relatively low model count Norscan army, but still. Vampire's pretty much completely offline at this point, but the Skaven just about made it over here to try and claw some points back in this. So we're going to fast forward a little bit through this mid-game here as I shoot at some of these Skaven that are trying to do some fancy maneuvering here, and Lariel and the Star Dragon are going to come over and try and finish this Frostworm. We do an upgraded Tempest, and we're going to path the the Star Dragon into the Frostworm. Of course, Frostworm is weak to fire damage, as most Frosty type units are, 25%. And the Star Dragon, of course, does deal fire damage and has superior stats, so it should be a victory for me up in the air, especially with that Tempest draining away a whole bunch of the HP of that dragon there, or sorry, the Frostworm. Meanwhile, we're still just trying to clean up the scraps of the Skaven forces that are, you know, just annoying and harassing on the flanks. Some other Skaven had come over, and looks like they're cleaning up some of the Norscan Ice Wolves, potentially. But yeah, the poison from the Gutter Runners helping the Star Dragon stay caught up with the Frostworm there. And a little bit of a janky engagement, but the Frostworm is going to come down, and the Star Dragon will promptly follow and annihilate it. So, yep, that thing goes down. There it is, and the Star Dragon is now in combat with a bunch of Skaven. We're going to try and get the Star Dragon back up in the air and let my archers and infantry deal with the Skaven, while my other units try and go deal with Reptile King's remaining Norscans here, who are pretty beat up, but still quite healthy. You can see Krios Vampires completely out of it at this point, with Diaz pretty sizable words. He's got a ways to come back, I should say. He's pretty far behind at this point, but he is starting to claw back some points. My Shadow Warriors are mostly out of ammo at this point, so I'm going to have no choice but to put them into melee, and even against very low units of Death Runners, and especially the Assassins here, we'll be able to get some good kills. Meanwhile, the Star Dragon trying to come down and goon Wolfric gets a couple of really good hits there, and Lariel just trolling nearby, waiting for an opportunity to get another banishment. If the Skin Wolves want to fight the Star Dragon, that's just fine by me. Again, the Star Dragon deals fire damage, and since the Skin Wolves had that regeneration trait, they're weak to fire damage. And yeah, you can see Lariel kind of just trolling around here, waiting for the Norscans to blob up a little bit more. while we just regenerate more Winds of Magic with the Mage here and try and make a last stand with the Shadow Warriors just fighting in the mud against the Skaven there. You can see them just duking it out in the pits here. Yeah, the Assassin especially will be rough stuff, but with the Norskin Blob forming, we're going to get one more opportunity for just a huge banishment here, so we're going to go ahead and drop that. Overcast Banishment, it's pretty much going to kill all of these Norskin Ice Wolves. You can see them just rolling over, and the few Marauders that happen to be unlucky enough to get caught in that also just rolled over as well. And also routed off the Skin Wolves, which that's going to leave Wulfric and these Chariots pretty much all alone here to get killed by the Star Dragon. So some more decent work for Alarielle, and she herself is up to 492 kills, all said and done. Meanwhile, the Skaven are coming back. They're racking up a lot of points, cleaning up these chariots here, these Ice Wolf chariots. They've cleaned up a lot of the remaining Elven infantry, and even the Mage Lord of Shadows getting a little bit caught up there, which is most unfortunate. Alarielle and the Star Dragon gonna try and cheese out the Norskins. I say cheese. They're, you know, just following one back up into the air after the other, and we're gonna try and see if we can force a blob here to use the breath attack of the Star Dragon. It's managed to get only 92 kills so far, so yeah, Alarielle's magic proving quite a bit more potent. But at this point, pretty much all the Shadow Warriors are offline. The Shadow Mage is still just trying to hide in the forest there, see if we can't get some more Winds of Magic, maybe another Earthblood or two. But yeah, you can see a breath attack going down. Oops, looks like a swing and a miss there. But after they blob into Alarielle a little bit more, now a breath attack going to be going down and just roasting out a huge pocket of these Norskins. Absolutely brutal stuff. And with that, we should be able to get a nice rear charge here to tear out away the rest of the Norskin infantry. Meanwhile, the Shadow Mage still being caught up a little bit, so we're getting to the more late game stages, which for free-for-alls can sometimes take a while to clean up. So we're going to fast forward a little bit here as we clean up some of those Norskins. And at this point, I'm pretty far ahead on points. Reptile King is decently close, so if he plays his cards right, he might be able to catch up. He's certainly doing just that with these Ice Wolf Chariots, continuing to clean up the Skaven infantry. Very good pick against the Skaven with their anti-infantry and their frost damage. Sorry, the frostbite. I mean, the Storm Riders, the Lothar Guard, unfortunately, getting caught up here. But Lariel's going to come and try and goon Lord Skrolk, and then the Star Dragon's going to come follow up as well. The issue I'm going to face here is that the Star Dragon will get completely surrounded like this, and the Assassins especially will be able to do some really good damage to him. So Lariel's going to try and come down and get on some of the Assassins. And if we can get a terror route and terrify away some of the supporting infantry, we should be able to finish off things here. Meanwhile, Reptile King does still have some forces kind of rallying to the side here. He's got more Ice Wolf Chariots over here. But at this point, Wick D is actually going to get some pretty good points trying to drag down Alarielle and this Star Dragon. So, yeah, we're going to pull the Star Dragon back up into the air for one last breath attack. Roast out some more Skaven here. And that should be enough to rout off all of the Gutter Runners. So now it's just the Assassins and Skrolk. That being said, they've done a ton of damage to Alarielle. So let's fast forward just a little bit more here as more Clan Rats are summoned. Star Dragon fights and starts to do some solid damage. Alarielle rallies, gets another rear charge, and we're able to rout off one of those Assassins. The Ice Wolf Chariots actually come in and try and get involved here. But, ooh, it looks like Alarielle getting very low. The Rod of Corruption doing a little bit of damage. But Lord Skrolk also getting taken down by the Star Dragon. Still just some Norskins chilling in the forest over there, waiting till this all blows over here. But yeah, Alarielle gets routed off, and at this point it's just the Star Dragon taking damage from the Assassins. He's getting low, granted he's doing plenty of damage in return, so let's see who's the first to rout. It actually looks like Lord Skrolk, because he's taken so little damage throughout the course of the battle, is going to be the one to actually rout off the Star Dragon. Alarielle manages to get an Ice Wolf Chariot, but also gets taken down by the Ice Wolf Chariots. So with that, I'm going to be completely offline. The Star Dragon just went down as well, and yeah. These guys were about to duke it out in a final engagement here, but Reptile King's internet actually dropped, so unfortunately we won't know who was able to claim second place there. I know Wickdy got the last man standing bonus, but unfortunately wasn't quite able to bring him up to where I was at, and at the end of the day, 505 kills on Alarielle. A lot of those coming from two just super juicy banishments, just banishing all the rats and the foul Ice Wolves and Marauders. The Shadow Warriors actually did pretty decently. 2 of them, they all started out with 2 XP chevrons, which means 2 of them were even able to get a 3rd XP chevron, which is, you know, not terrible, certainly. Shadow Warriors themselves are pretty decent, I think, just based on what I've seen. I mean, they're not amazing, but you can make them work, certainly. The Gray, though, I think are just way too expensive and probably need a price reduction. 103 kills on the Storm Riders, not too bad as well. You don't see them too often, but I think if you're going to go with like an all-Vanguard High Elf army, for example, they're a pretty good option. The Reavers also did pretty well, and 290 kills at the end of the day for the Star Dragon. Got a couple really nice breath attacks there in the late game. For Reptile King, 208 kills on Wolfric, just racked it up against the zombies. His Chariots honestly did very well, and the Marauders as well, of course, killing a ton of zombies. 171, 83, 96, and 165 on the Frostworm, which was another really good pick. Actually, I've been seeing Frostworms quite a bit more recently, and I do think they're a pretty good option for Norska if you want to contest the air game. They're a pretty strong unit, especially if your opponent tries to run away, because they are pretty much impossible to get away from. Yeah, Wakedee's Skaven here took a really rough engagement initially, but ended up coming back nicely in the late game. Lord Skrulk just continuing to be relentless with those summons, and the Gutter Runners as well, you know, getting some good kills, sticking around until the late game. The Death Runners did a nice job as well. And then for Creel's Vampires, losing out the Red Duke early on was pretty rough, and his army just overall, I mean, they did alright. They were able to get about 8,000 points, mostly probably from that Cloud and Gash there, but unfortunately the Blood Knights just got dragged down, and the Red Duke also getting surrounded by the Chariots there was pretty rough. So overall, very fun battle though. Thanks to everyone involved. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.